Let's continue with chapter number 8. Till now, we saw what are the challenges in cloud computing: confidentiality, integrity, availability, governance, legal compliance, audit, incident response, software isolation, and identity management. After this, the advantages of cloud computing. Now again, we are going to talk something good about cloud computing. You can remember this question as ABQCA. ABQUCA. First is access to information. Okay, this is the characteristic, this is the goal, and this is also the advantage of cloud computing, that you can access the information within the organization or outside the organization at any time you want from any geographical location. Okay, so it is a characteristic, it is a goal, and it is also an advantage. After that, backup and recovery. Now, what we, if all the data is stored in the cloud, okay, taking backup is very easy, and even if there is some data loss, recovery of that data is also very easy. We are comparing it when we were doing it by ourselves in the organization. We were taking backup by ourselves. We were taking different types of backup like full backup, differential backup, incremental backup, mirror backup. So now it is a bit easy in case of a cloud. Then quick deployment. Now what is this concept? Quick deployment. If I am a bank or an insurance company, I have a lot of branches. Now if RBI gives any guideline that you have to implement these controls in your organization, I will have to just implement it once in the cloud, and it will automatically be implemented in all the branches. So that is what they are saying by quick deployment. Earlier, we had to make changes in the organization, then we had to see that whether it is compatible with all the branches or not, and then at branch level we had to take additional efforts to implement those controls, even if when we had the information systems. But now we will just install those controls once in the cloud, and it will be quickly deployed in all the branches. That is what they are saying by quick deployment. After that, unlimited storage. Just now we saw that it is a loosely coupled architecture. Then you have to pay as you go service or pay as per use service. So that is what they're saying by unlimited storage. You can't say unlimited storage because beyond a certain point, the services will not be provided. It depends upon the cloud service provider. But for the sake, you can write as it is as an advantage, unlimited storage. Then cost efficiency. Again, we are talking about here as cost benefit analysis. It is saving our power cost, then energy cost, then server cost, backup cost. Okay, you can prepare actual capital budgeting question for this cloud computing. Okay, for doing cost benefit analysis. Then automatic software integration. What is automatic software integration? You have to install the software on the cloud. You have to tell what all controls must be there. All users will be able to access it. What are the other softwares which will be linked to this software? Okay, you have to just mention that in the contract and it will be done. That is why it is calling as automatic software integration. Now, even after that, you are making any changes to the software, it will automatically updated with the other supporting software or the linked softwares. So you don't have to take additional efforts now to make sure that it is implemented everywhere. You will update the software and it will be automatically updated everywhere. We will call it as automatic software integration. Okay, is the background noise too loud? Should I change the location?
No, sir, it's okay.
It is okay now. Because I'm feeling that it is a bit low. Okay. So once again, PubQCA, access to information, backup and recovery, quick deployment, unlimited storage, cost efficiency, automatic software integration. Access, backup, quick deployment, unlimited storage, cost efficiency, automatic software integration. Now let's see what are the pertinent issues. These are the issues which exist in case of cloud technologies. Now, what is the difference between challenges and pertinent issues is there is still no solution available for these issues. Okay, for challenges, we have solutions. For these issues, we still don't have some solutions. Now, let's see threshold policy. Now, what is threshold policy? Now, you are developing a software in the cloud. Sometimes you don't know how much that software will be used by others. For example, Facebook. When the Facebook was installed on the cloud, it didn't know that it is going to blast up to billions of users. So what they had targeted was just a million users. So in the threshold policy, they said that we need a server storage and facilities so that only a million users will be able to access Facebook. Now, this was during when the software was being developed. After that, when it started expanding beyond million users, they had to renegotiate the threshold policy that now we are going to need facilities for a billion users. Okay. So this negotiating the threshold policy is a bit of a issue in case of in where we are placing the software in the cloud. That is what they are saying by threshold policy. You are unable to determine how many customers you are going to have. Sometimes it may happen that you are in the contract, you are saying that there are going to be millions of users, but your business may not be attracting any customers. So it is a bit of an issue to understand what kind of threshold policy you must adopt. Then interoperability, it is a very small point. There are two cloud service providers. You are shifting your database from one cloud service provider to another. Now, all the facilities that are available in the first cloud service provider, they may or may not be available from the other service provider. So, there is an issue when you are shifting from one cloud to another. There is a problem in interoperability. So what is the issue here? There is no uniformity in types of clouds. Okay, every service provider is providing different facilities and different pricing is done. So this interoperability, shifting your database from one cloud to another cloud is a pertinent issue. Then hidden costs. Now what happens is IT companies, they invest a lot in the information systems and all. Even they make sure that they have hacking agencies. Now in the initial stage itself, if you are using hackers and all, the cost is very high because whenever an IT company is entering the market, the big IT firms, they know that their market share may be depleted. So they will make sure that they use their hackers to shut these new IT companies down. Now these big companies, they already have a lot of influence. So they are in a position to do that. Okay, and it doesn't take a lot of time for them. So the new IT companies, they have to invest heavily in case of hackers and other equipments. Now we can't charge all this to the customer. And even if we are charging this, we can't disclose all this information that we are taking care that we are deploying the best hackers, or we are employing the best controls, or we are giving you the best services and all. So because of non-disclosure of that, the customer will feel that the charges are unnecessarily high. Okay, or they will say that there are hidden costs. It is basically the IT company trying to recover for the other charges they have incurred. So this non-disclosure of hidden costs is also a pertinent issue. Then we have unexpected behavior. Now, what is unexpected behavior? It may happen that you have a software and it is working properly in your office, but the moment you open that software on your laptop from your home, you are not able to access it, or it is not working properly. The software is the same, the devices are the same, but one is on the cloud and one is on your personal computer. It is working perfectly on your personal computer, but when you are trying to access it from the cloud, you're not able to access it. So this is what they call as unexpected behavior. There is a change how the software is reacting to your system software. So we will call it as unexpected behavior. It is working on your laptop, but it is not working on your cloud, or vice versa. So threshold policy, interoperability, hidden costs, and unexpected behavior. Then we have security issues. Now, what are the security issues? The passwords and all that we have to use. We have to constantly come up with new algorithms, because the algorithms which are provided by the hackers or new organizations, already after some time, all the big organizations are using it. Everyone knows what level of security you have. There is nothing new or nothing additional security measures you are taking. So there is a possibility that the cloud architecture may be cracked and the data may be leaked. So there are always going to be security issues. From this, you can remember confidentiality, integrity, and availability point from the challenges in cloud computing. Like that only, security also is a pertinent issues. After that, software development in cloud. In this point, just remember that you are trying to develop a software in the cloud. You have to isolate it and then try to develop it. If the architecture is not very rigid or secure, other organization may hack into the data of the organization. So if you are doing software development in cloud, there is also a possibility that it may be tampered, or other organization may have access to the same, as everything is on one cloud, but in different sections. So software development in cloud is also a pertinent issue. And the last point is environment friendly. In this chapter only, we are going to see environment related cloud and all. Till now, we have seen that we are saving the cost of servers, backup devices, and all. Basically, the electronic devices that we were using, now we are not going to invest in them, we will not purchase them. So it is basically beneficial for the environment, as only one device is being used by a lot of people. Here, there is a balance in the environment and the information system. That is why we are calling it as environment friendly. But just because these systems which are environment friendly are available, doesn't mean that there is more improvement for other information systems for more environment friendly. So whether we are using the most latest and optimum environment friendly system or not, that is also a pertinent issue. So, and you will prefer a cloud service provider who is more environment friendly over other cloud service provider. So giving this as a guarantee that our cloud is environment friendly is also a pertinent issue. Have you understood this question? This question is a bit difficult to memorize.
So please repeat interoperability.
Interoperability.
Huh.
Now, there are two cloud computing vendors. Okay. For example, there is a Google Cloud and then there is a Google Cloud. You are working on a Google Cloud. Now you come to know that in Google Cloud, a lot of organizations are not there. But if in the Google Cloud, more facilities are there, more security is there. But the problem is a lot of organizations are also there. So now you are shifting from Google Cloud to Google Cloud. What you have to do is you have to again download all the information from the Google Cloud to your servers and backup devices, or a temporary database will be provided by the Google Cloud to help you in shifting that data. So if it was not for Google Cloud and if it was any other cloud which was not providing that service, then it would have been difficult for us to shift from one cloud to another, as you have to download everything again and upload it everything again on the cloud. So this interoperability is a pertinent issue, as till now there are no measures for transition from one vendor to another vendor. Yes, sir. Did you understand the example?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you want, you can remember as GoDaddy to Amazon. GoDaddy to Amazon. We are shifting our cloud computing vendor from GoDaddy to Amazon. Now let's see what is grid computing. Now, as we were talking about that there will be an aggregator. This grid computing is like an aggregator, but we are not going to call it an aggregator. We are going to call it as a grid computing. So again, utilization of non-utilized computing resources. Okay, this is going to be the background of the entire chapter, that the computing resources are unutilized. So we are going to do cloud computing. We are going to gather a lot of heterogeneous sources, and then we are going to become a grid computing. Okay. What is grid computing? It is a network of machines. Okay, what is cloud computing? It is a combination of hardware and software. But grid computing, it is a network of machines. Here we will have a processor and computing resources. It will be managed with a software called middleware. This middleware is particularly an aggregator, but we are not going to call it aggregator. We will call it as a middleware. So remember here 3 points. There is a processor, there is a middleware, and it is a network of machines. It is not a combination of hardware and software. It is a network of machines. After this, why it is popular? Now we have already seen that what happens in cloud computing. Now why grid computing is so popular? Again, it is a cost-effective solution. Here, the main point you have to remember is here heterogeneous resources can be combined and provided as a network service. In case of cloud computing, heterogeneous resources cannot be combined and provided as a network service. We can work in collaboration, work in cooperation to solve scientific problems. That is basically what is grid computing.
So what is the heterogeneous resources, sir?
What is heterogeneous resources? There are three types of organizations. One is a small organization, one is a medium organization, and one is a large organization. All the three organizations, they have different information systems, different backup devices. So the information system capabilities are different, or the versions they are using, all of them are different. They are not compatible to each other. So as they are not compatible to each other, for example, I am using a Windows laptop and a student of mine is using Apple laptop. So if I want to communicate with him, we have to make sure that they are using an app which is compatible on both the platforms. If there is no app like that, we cannot communicate. So these are called as heterogeneous resources. You cannot communicate unless there is an app that is compatible on both the devices. Now, if I decide that 60% of my laptop is idle and the other laptop only 40% is idle, I cannot shift the 40% that is idle on my computer to other laptop. What I will do is I will use grid computing. In grid computing, my 40% of laptop and his 60% of laptop can be used by another person, which are heterogeneous resources. Yes, sir. Have you understood now? Okay, just remember that the devices are not compatible if you want to share it with everyone. It may be the case that the customer is using Linux, but the computing resources which are unutilized, they're Apple or Windows. Okay, this can happen. So what you will do is you will use grid computing. In grid computing, you have protocols for conversion of computing resources in a compatible manner. That is what happens in grid computing. We will learn more about it in communication controls, how this protocol conversion is done. Yes, sir. Have you understood now? Heterogeneous resources.
Could you just repeat it again, sir?
Okay.
So grid computing itself is not very clear, sir. Is it like our office or something wherein we'll have small server and many computers are used from it? Or how is it?
See, what happens in cloud computing is we have a cloud service provider, we take his services. Now, what happens in grid computing is there is a lot of unutilized computing resources. What we will do is we will gather all of them and we will bring them together. Okay, we will club them. Okay, this clubbing cannot be done in cloud computing. Okay, in cloud computing, we are not gathering all these computing resources and clubbing them. We are doing this clubbing of computing resources in grid computing. We are creating a grid. Okay, this grid will have all the resources in a box. Okay, we will call that box as a grid. Now, the resources that we are gathering, they will not be compatible to each other. Okay, all the resources are going to be heterogeneous. Okay, different resources. But once they come into a grid, we will do a protocol conversion. What is protocol conversion? Even if they are incompatible, we will make them compatible so that we can deliver them as a network service. I add one image to understand that. Is it a bit clear now? even if this explanation doesn't have image and all.
Kind of clear, kind of. Some
So
idea we have.
once the in grid you basically make all the unused softwares to be compatible.
Yes, that we do. We do a protocol conversion in grid computing. We don't do it in cloud computing. Also in cloud computing, we are directly contacting the cloud service provider and taking the cloud services. In grid computing, we are doing that collaboration of computing services. We are bringing them together. Then we are doing protocol conversion to make them all compatible. And then we are providing it as a network service.
Like the services are active, sir. Somebody is doing this grid computing. Any
Yes.
example so that we will like this grid computing is rendered as service or something like cloud computing?
See, cloud computing has a limit to solve scientific problems. It cannot handle very intense operations. Okay, normal office operations and all, okay, the cloud computing can handle, but it is if it is IT companies like antivirus softwares or companies giving IT services, they will use grid computing because the intensity of operations is very large. Okay, it is not, it cannot be handled by cloud computing. For organizations like CA firms, then other companies and all, cloud computing is best. But if it is a banking company, insurance company, or IT companies where operations are intensively uh, complicated, they will use grid computing instead of cloud computing.
So, to my understanding, is grid computing is something which the company itself forms a resource to do all the things to prevent data leakage or data integrity and all that. And a cloud computing is something where there is a protocol conversion to some extent, and we can be able to use for a lower cost.
You can say that.
Separate cloud and solar.
See, you can say that we can develop a grid by itself. That we cannot develop a cloud. You can say that, but that may not be the case in all the situation. Might be.
Sindu, what you told is a private cloud, yeah. He is saying something different with grid computing. Okay, like புரியல.
Can you write? I'm
No,
not
so
able.
she's asking, uh, is there what is the difference between grid computing and private cloud?
Grid computing and
Private cloud.
private cloud. Again, the difference is the intensity of operations. I will keep on saying that again and again because that is the only point I have pointed, which is a difference between them. Also, there is not a
Okay, sir, never mind. We'll mug and write this, sir.
okay, there is not a lot of things they have said about protocol conversion in cloud computing. They have talked a lot about it in the grid computing. Okay, we will continue in 2 minutes. Okay. Don't go anywhere.